So we start off TPP with Big Boss, the medic, Chico, Paz, and eventually Miller on the helicopter. Big Boss returns from Camp Omega to find that the base is under attack. Now, a lot of things make me think that Big Boss actually did plan this. One of those things is that he's not panicked. I mean, he is a trained soldier, so he should be calm and collected. But he should also be really upset that this happened. I mean, Kaz is really upset, and that's obvious. By the end of this cutscene, you can tell that Kaz is very upset. And, I mean, we can't say anything for sure. We know how Kojima works. For all we know, this could all be fake. I mean, maybe not, but we never really know what kind of twist he's going to pull. He hasn't given us all the information we need. We don't really know what is a true fact and what could all be just in Venom's head. Now in this scene, we will be able to see Mosquito hopping on the helicopter. There's also one other person that makes it onto the helicopter with him. So there were 3 soldiers with Big Boss right now. One went down. So there's one going in. This guy doesn't make it. The guy that got in is Mosquito. There may have been one other person that snuck in there during that cutscene. Alright, now this hand grab, that happens again during Mission 31. After you take out Sahelanthropus. Kaz will call Big Boss or Venom and pulls him onto the chopper in the same way. So now here's Mother Base being completely destroyed. Which, I mean, to destroy that whole base, that's a whole lot of C4 they had to put on each one of those platforms. There wasn't that much time going on between when Skullface left Camp Omega and Big Boss arriving back to Mother Base. That's a lot of different charges to plant all over the base. So that also makes me think that someone was in on this. This part is also confusing because we've been told that the medic took most of the damage from that explosion. He's completely covered in shrapnel. Big Boss seemed to have been protected. Yet in this scene here in the hospital, we can see that Big Boss is the one the nurses are giving all the attention to. Yet Venom's the one that took all the shrapnel. So why isn't someone working on him? Why is Big Boss knocked out? And why is Venom still awake? It should be the other way around. Venom took the majority of the damage for him. Now that doctor that just showed in pink, that nurse, I'm sorry, not in pink, she's blonde with glasses on. She's going to walk off camera in a second. She's going to pass by this doctor who has his back to us, and she walks off to the left. I think she may have been walking off to sedate Venom. Here you can see the doctors are still focusing only on Big Boss. There she goes. She's passing by right now. And she's out of view. We don't know where she goes. Now Kaz is told that Venom is in a coma and he's more concerned. He's told that Big Boss is in a coma and he's more concerned with Venom. This guy's just barely looking at Venom. I thought Venom took all the damage. There should have been doctors working on him the whole time. Kaz should have been concerned about Big Boss going to a coma, not Venom's condition. This is from PT. I believe PT is actually part of Venom part of his nightmare. It may be during his brainwashing, or it may be that he's in a coma. They may have put him into a coma purposefully. So this cutscene is really what makes me think that PT has to do with Metal Gear. It's all just part of the ruse. So we have this hallway. This ball's going to open the door. And we get a nice shot of Chico without his head. And parasites coming out of the mouth. Okay. Door slams. Bugs all over the hallway. Okay, now here we're about to see Chico getting the life sucked out of him. I'm pretty sure this big monster that's sucking the life out of him is actually either Big Boss or Venom. And the reason why is because it has one arm and it crawls exactly like Venom does in the hallways at the hospital. Now notice these bloody handprints appearing on the left and right side of the walls. They're everywhere. They remind me a lot of the handprints we see everywhere in the Death Stranding trailer. So here we go. This is whoever's having this nightmare is escaping this crawling body. Here's a shot of it. And this is where the nightmare or coma ends. And I'm not sure if he was placed in a coma or if this is actually just part of his brainwashing. If you've ever played Dead Space 2, there was the beginning of the game, your character has been brainwashed for years. It's almost as if he's been in a coma, but he's actually been conscious the whole time. He just doesn't recall anything that had been happening. Okay, so this is Venom waking up in the hospital. There's a few things in here that I find a little weird. Obviously we have the flower petals that fall around, a sign of the boss. Now, Kojima has released a bunch of different trailers for these games, and one of the parts that comes up during the trailer takes place around this time in the hospital, and it says that Venom was left for dead and betrayed. Now, those are coming straight from Kojima's narration of the trailer, so we can kind of conclude that Venom does indeed feel that he was left for dead and betrayed. So of course he would be unhappy with Big Boss if that's how he truly feels. Now what I find weird is that the other nurse with the dark hair, she was also in the hospital 9 years ago. When this lady right here with the black hair, she was in the hospital 9 years ago when Big Boss went into his coma. Here she is still. She doesn't look like she's aged at all. Also, the woman with the black hair, it's been said before that she may be Lisa in PT. It looks like a distorted version of that model. I've looked at it, I can't say for sure that it looks like her. Also, I've decided to use the music from Low Roar because Kojima has told us, even back in 2014 on 9/11, that, he recommended the album. So this is probably something we should pay attention to. I've listened to this album a lot. And compared to the Low Roar's other album, this one definitely has a different tone, and a lot of the lyrics seem to fit what's going on in this game and what's going on with Kojima. I suspect Kojima might be using all of this Low Roar music in the next game. Okay, so we have Quiet killing the nurse. This guy doesn't hear anything though. Apparently Venom can't talk either, so he can't let him know that that's going on in the background. Also, part of me thinks that maybe, although it's highly unlikely, that Quiet was actually there to kill the real big boss, and maybe get Venom out. Maybe not. I mean, she does attack Venom, but I don't think she actually was there for Venom. She's there for Big Boss. Now, when this doctor's killed, you can see a little bit of blood in his throat. It's not squirting out like I think it should. Should be probably pouring out of that throat a little bit more. And then right after this cutscene, when you're leaving, there's no blood on the floor from either him or the nurse. Also, the mirror in this room looks a lot like the mirror that's used in Outer Heaven when Venom plays the truth tape. Now, this part, I use this song because it talks about a new home, and that it's not exactly the best new home, but it is your new home, and to me that symbolizes Venom coming to a new mother base. It's not perfect. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of secrets. But he's kind of stuck with it. So here he is escaping. Big Boss is already long gone. Venom's just crawling out of the truck, left for dead, as far as he knows. He doesn't know the truth. Okay, and here's the famous mirror. So this is to show now Venom's coming into Mother Base. The coma, everything, that's all done. The brainwashing's done. So here's the first mission he's sent on. He has to go rescue Kaz. Now, if Kaz was in on it all along, I don't know why he would let his arm be removed and tortured just to go along with the plan. But I also suspect that Kaz may have had the parasites placed in while he was here in Russia, because we know that he had already come into contact with the skulls, and his eyes are already messed up here, so it would appear that he already had the parasites this time. And here's Kaz showing you what he's been doing for the last 9 years, creating Diamond Dogs, which kind of seems like a waste. I mean, they go through all this trouble to make a point that Diamond Dogs is the new military Sans Frontiers, and yet it's okay if you just change your PF name anytime. It doesn't change everything on the base. There's still Diamond Dogs logos everywhere, but you can change them to whatever you'd like, including the names of the bosses from the original Metal Gear game. Not Metal Gear Solid, I'm talking Metal Gear for the MSX or for the NES. So here's Venom thinking he's Big Boss. He's telling Kaz, tell me what I need to do. So Kaz is the person that Venom should have the most history with. Ocelot wasn't really around during Peace Walker or Portable Ops. I mean, he does appear in Portable Ops, but it's not really canon. So really, Kaz should be the person that Venom can trust, and that Venom should know from Old Mother Base. Ocelot keeps his cool throughout this whole game, and still kind of directs Big Boss or Venom against Kaz. So there's New Mother Base. Here's some of the choices he's had to deal with. He's had to deal with Skullface. He's had to deal with whether or not he should kill Quiet. Quiet ends up earning her way in by saving Venom's life. Now, if this were the real Big Boss, do you really think Kaz or Ocelot would have guns raised to him as he approaches Mother Base with Quiet? They don't trust him? I mean, Big Boss has beaten the shit out of Kaz so many times. Kaz should know that he can handle this. But no, he's held at gunpoint in his own base. Do you think he really feels like he can trust these people if they don't trust him? Now here he is returning to the AI pod we haven't seen since Peace Walker. And even the AI pod doesn't really believe that this is Big Boss. It knows there's something up. And same thing here with Kaz, or with Huey. Truth serum doesn't work on Huey for some reason, because Huey's already telling the truth. He had nothing to do with what happened. I suspect a lot of the stuff that happens on Mother Base, it's actually Ocelot that's done it, because he keeps it cool as a cucumber the whole time. He's always in control, and he always is in every game. Here we go. This is just a lot of this stuff is not so important. I'm just showing you kind of what's happened throughout the time that Venom has been on Mother Base. It hasn't been some peaceful place where he can live in peace, and you know, he's constantly having to deal with different crap that pops up on Mother Base, whether it's putting all his efforts into building up the base, parasitic outbreaks, Eli causing trouble, Quiet causing trouble, and she can't even explain herself. Now this part is pretty important, because this speech from Skullface, it still rings true after Skullface's death. That hatred never really replaces the pain, and Venom never really gets to kill Skullface. If he wanted Skullface to die and suffer, he would have shot him the way he did and left him there to bleed out. But Huey ruins that by killing him. Huey shows him mercy. Big Boss was going to leave him there to bleed to death and suffer. So that speech from Skullface is important, because it shows that anger, that lust for revenge, it never goes away, especially when he doesn't get the satisfaction of actually killing Skullface or watching him suffer. And you can tell he was shooting for that redemption, that revenge right here, because of the flashbacks that show up on the screen as you're shooting Skullface. It's to show you, like, yeah, this is for the hospital, this is for Kaz losing his arm, this is for me losing my arm, and now I'm going to leave you here to bleed out, or you can kill yourself. But then we have Huey come over and does the legwork for him. And when the camera shines back to Venom, you can see on his face, he's not happy by that. He's definitely not smiling like, yeah, he's dead. Good job, Huey. He's looking hard and long like, motherfucker. And I chose this type of music for this scene because once Skullface is dead, this is kind of a little moment of peace and quiet for Mother Base. They now have Sahelanthropus. They don't have to worry about that. The parasites technically should be gone, although we know better. So that's why I changed the theme of the music here, just to show. And then we have the beginning, or towards the end of Shining Lights here, where Venom couldn't save anybody. He had to kill everyone point blank range. They're all saluting him, singing to him, telling him how much they love him and that it's okay. And some of them are begging for their lives. And he thinks he got one guy out alive, and even that's taken from him. So he's pretty pissed. I mean, this is hard on him. He has a nervous breakdown right now. I mean, look at all the blood and everything. This is an important scene. That's why Kojima was willing to change this scene and put it in Africa during the trailers. He didn't want you to know this was going down. He wanted this to be a surprise. So that's why I chose this song here, is because this is Venom saying, he's coming. Whatever you need, he's the guy that has to take care of it. If Big Boss needs something, Kaz or Ocelot's going to make sure that Venom has to go do the dirty work. Just like Skullface would have to clean up after Big Boss, Venom has to clean up after Big Boss. And just like Skullface, he doesn't like it. And it gets worse and worse as it goes on. So this is a pivotal point. This is almost the peak where he loses it. I mean, he's about to lose it here. He's going to drop to his knees in a second. And you can see, watch this part. Watch his legs buckle. Right here they buckle, and they buckle again because he's about to drop to his knees. He can't even hold his own weight right now. And as he drops to his knees, he freaks out. He had to kill all of these people in cold blood, people that worked for him, people that knew him, that loved him, that were willing to die for him because they knew why. But even if they were willing to die, it doesn't make it any better on Venom. This is still a really stressful moment. All these people are dead by his hand, and all the people on the base outside are going to blame him for this. They're not going to... I mean, they even have cutscenes on the base where the soldiers are like, yeah, he had to do it, but still, it's not cool. Now, right after that, big ol' stressful moment, he comes in here, and he finds out, oh, guess what? You're not really Big Boss. No, you were used as a scapegoat so that he could escape clean. He's already pissed off that he just killed all his men in cold blood. And now he's finding out, oh no, none of this needed to happen. We just needed to use you. You're cool with that, right? Because it's part of our plan. So you're Big Boss, and so am I. And you're going to go with our next plan, which is Metal Gear 1. And Kaz says at the end of the game, no, I'm not going to help Big Boss. I'm not going to go with Big Boss's plan. I'm going to build up Venom. So here's Venom kind of transitioning through. And I used some of the quotes from Kojima's trailers, and I thought they fit perfectly with this part. Him becoming a demon. Well, here he is, becoming a demon right before your eyes. Even if you went the whole game peacefully, this horn's going to grow at this cutscene. And then burning with revenge. Here, perfect time for burning with revenge. He's burning with revenge. He just lost all his men. He just found out the truth. He's fucking pissed. And you know what? He kind of starts to identify with Skullface, and that's why we have this Skullface scene right here. And I used that dad as a drag line here. Now this part's important.
And that loss torments you still.
See? This still rings true, this speech from Skullface. All this loss is because of Big Boss. And Big Boss is just smoking a cigar, riding off into the sunset without a care in the world. He's off scot-free.
It makes a man hideous inside and out.
And it did. It made Venom hideous inside and out.
Wouldn't you agree?
And here we have Mosquito in Mission 22. Kaz doesn't know the truth by this point, so Kaz just goes ahead and dismisses it all. Mosquito said that Big Boss sold out his men 9 years ago, and that's why he wasn't on the base that day, so that he could escape, and we know by the end of this game that he does do that. So Kaz tries to tell you, oh no, Mosquito was a victim of disinformation. But by the end of the game, we know that it was Kaz that was a victim of disinformation, because Kaz didn't know that Venom was a decoy and that the real Big Boss was somewhere else building up his nation. So the way Kaz writes off this conversation is kind of expected because he didn't know the truth yet. And this is to show Venom now. So this is Venom pissed off. This is all the stuff that's happening. This is Kaz finding out the truth from Ocelot. And he's not happy about it. We know that at least happens after Mission 22. Because Kaz didn't know the truth about Mission 22. And I also believe that Norman Reedus, Kojima showing him in PT, Kojima showing him in Death Stranding. There's a few different things going on there. One, Silent Hills and Death Stranding are never intended to be real games. Okay, they're just a way for him to show Reedus to all his fans ahead of time without telling them that this is going to be the new Solid Snake. It's part of his little ruse. He's rubbing it in your faces. He's showing you Reedus, but he's telling you it's something completely different. It's all smoke and mirrors. So there was no Silent Hills. There was no PT. It was all just part of this. Okay, so when you see Reedus in Silent Hills at the end there, I believe that model of Reedus, because it has short hair, I believe that is actually Solid Snake in the first Metal Gear game. I actually think Kojima and them are actually further in development for the next 2 Metal Gear games than they lead us on. So I think by showing that Reedus model at that time, it shows that they were at least that far with Reedus's character model for the first Metal Gear game, when Solid Snake has short hair. By the time Death Stranding comes out, we see Reedus with longer hair. And I believe Death Stranding is a way to show that Kojima is now working on Metal Gear 2, which is why Reedus has a different haircut. The facial expressions used in Metal Gear are very important. Kojima said he used Kiefer Sutherland because he could display a range of emotions that David Hayter could not. Now, Kiefer Sutherland doesn't really talk too much in this game, and when he does, he doesn't really display his emotions except for during that nervous breakdown point. And that's important because Kojima was willing to pay for Kiefer Sutherland to do this job over David Hayter because he can display those facial emotions. There are no facts in this game. It's all about interpretation, and you have to interpret the emotions on Venom's face that go on throughout this game. You can see he's displeased by the things that happen. Okay, and I think those facial emotions also show that PT, Death Stranding, and Metal Gear are all running on the Fox engine, because there's not very many engines that can display that much facial emotion. The only other one I knew that was that accurate was the one they used in LA Noire, and they haven't used anything that highly detailed since. But in here, we have an engine that captures all these facial emotions. We have Kojima going to Kiefer Sutherland over David Hayter because he can display those facial emotions. He's a professional actor. And, I mean, that was pretty much mostly Kiefer's job. He wasn't here narrating the whole game. He's barely talking. It's all about his emotions. And, again, like I said, during Death Stranding, we see Norman Reedus's emotions, and that's to show it's kind of the same engine, dude. It looks like it may be an upgraded engine, and the reason I think that is because I think that since the Phantom Pain was made for older consoles like the PS3 and the Xbox, that they couldn't really flesh out everything in that engine yet because not enough people had switched over to next-gen consoles. But by the time these next Metal Gear games come out, everyone should be playing on those consoles, and they won't be made for older generations, and that's why we see more detail in the PT trailer and the Death Stranding trailer. Even though they are still running on Fox Engine, I think it's a little bit tweaked so that it's looking a little bit better on next gen. And here I threw Kojima in there. What took you so long? What took you guys so long to figure out all this out? He's been telling you the whole time to interpret it. Not to look for facts, to interpret the game. I mean, at the end of the game, you can see, not only has Venom lost his mind, but as soon as he breaks the mirror, you can see the Outer Heaven logo on the door. It was a Diamond Dogs logo, but now it's changed to an Outer Haven logo. Kojima's hinting, hello, what comes next? Outer Haven, 1995. Then we have an MSX machine that he places the tape in for the next mission. What game came out on MSX? Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear. He's telling you guys this is what he's working on. And I know that we have all these different news reports that this is not what's happening, but that's very much 1984 in your face. If you read the book, 1984, all the stuff that's going on in the world, a lot of it is lies, and the main character knows it. But you have to choose to believe it, because the people around you will think you're crazy, or they'll report you if they know that you're preaching anything other than the official truth that is given to you. So I think that's why Kojima is marketing the game this way. If you're a big fan of him, you know that this ruse isn't over. He's not going to just drop the Phantom Pain on you like that and then walk away and start something else completely different. And if he was, he's using the same marketing tactics that he's used for all his Metal Gear games. These aren't the marketing tactics he used for Castlevania when he remade that. These aren't the tactics No, not me. These are the same marketing tactics he's only used on his Metal Gear series. He's never used these for any of his other games. There hasn't been this big mystery around him. Only for Ground Zeroes, PT, Death Stranding, The Phantom Pain. He created 2 different fake studios already. He created 7780s Studio, which we know was a fake. And Konami was willing to go along with that whole lie. We didn't know Konami had anything to do with PT until it was actually finished, which took a few weeks. So we know Konami was willing to go with the ruse then. Then we have the Phantom Pain. When that first was shown, we didn't know it was a Metal Gear game. We had no idea. We had to figure that puzzle out. And now with Death Stranding, we don't know what it is. We just know that he threw a title on it, Death Stranding. Just like he threw a title on PT, Silent Hills. There's no Silent Hills. It even tells you that that's not a real game. And he's already came out and said that Death Stranding, that scene you've seen probably won't be in the game. It won't be playable. And I think that that's another cutscene that he's changed a little bit. Just like when he changed Big Boss in the desert. Instead of being on the medical platform or the quarantine platform killing everyone, I think he's changed these scenes that we're seeing in the ending of PT and in the Death Stranding trailer. I think he's swapping out a different person's model for Norman Reedus, but Norman Reedus will be in the next game, and I believe that Norman Reedus in the next game is going to be playing Solid Snake. I don't think he would put such a big actor into a role for someone like, say, the cyborg ninja Frank Yeager. And also, he's using another big actor. You think he's going to use Norman Reedus on a new IP and just hope that it turns out okay and that fans end up liking it? That's a lot of money to throw away on something that no one's ever played before. No one has any idea what this game's going to be. Also, for those that say Kojima had problems with the budgeting for the Phantom Pain, Kojima made 2 different apps for both Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain. If you're trying to stay under budget, you're not going to make these apps that hardly anyone really uses. I mean, they kill your battery life really quick. And if he really did have all these budgeting issues, do you really think that Sony's going to back him up and give him the money that he needs when he just showed that he's not capable of staying within the budget? No. It's all a ruse. The only thing I'm not sure of is if he's actually left Konami. I don't think he has. I think it's been part of a ploy. If it's not part of a ploy and he actually left, then I believe Sony helped him buy the rights to the Metal Gear Solid franchise. And we just have to wait and see until this next game comes out. But I'm promising you, it's going to be a Metal Gear 1 and a Metal Gear 2 remake. And the reason why is because that's the next part. There's never been a better time for a reboot for this series. Because right now, all the new fans that came into this franchise, they've never played the original Metal Gear games. And if they have, they haven't played them in anything more than 8-bit. So now's the time to show those next chapters again in a next-gen engine. They haven't been remade since the late 80s. So now we're going to finally it's perfect time to show all these fans those two epic stories. And I mean, they're not going to wait to do it. Why? The next part after Phantom Pain is the first two games being remade. So why would you wait 15 years to do that? No one's going to care. But right now, after the Phantom Pain, everyone wants to know what's coming next, and that's what comes next. And Kojima's hinted plenty of times throughout the game that that's what comes next. And using Venom's emotions, he's also shown you that Venom is not happy with the end game. He hasn't really gotten that revenge that he craved. And in the end, Skullface, Cypher, it doesn't really matter because they're really not the ones to blame. Big Boss is the one that dragged you into all this so that he could escape. He's the reason you're in this situation. Also, on PT, if you've played PT on the PS4, it looks a little bit better than the Phantom Pain in terms of detail when you're up close to things. It's more highly detailed. And, well, I do believe it's also because you're playing. As far as the Kojima and Konami stuff goes, we really just have to wait for the details because they're not going to really tell us the truth on what happened. But I suspect he is still working with Konami, and the reason I suspect that is because they were so willing to go along with everything for PT. When PT came out, no one knew what it was for a good 2 weeks until someone actually beat it. And then it was revealed that, hey, guess what? It's Silent Hills, and yeah, Konami had something to do with it, and so did Hideo Kojima and Norman Reedus and Guillermo del Toro. But I believe he just threw del Toro's name in there because he's a friend and he could, you know. Yeah, I mean, Konami was willing to go along with the ruse then. They were willing to go along with the ruse when we thought we were getting the Phantom Pain from a company called Moby Dick. They didn't reveal anything. They didn't tell us the truth until we knew the truth from Kojima. With Silent Hill, same thing. Konami didn't say anything, didn't reveal the truth until we figured it out on our own. And with the Phantom Pain, they're not explaining everything to us. They're just letting us interpret it the way it is. And the way it is, I mean, it's a good story and all. It's missing a lot of the key Metal Gear things, but the bottom line is it tells a story that's necessary to set up the next two Metal Gear games. And not only that, but it also gets us heavily involved with the character that we're going to be fighting in the next Metal Gear game, because we know that we're actually going to be fighting Venom. So that's a big deal there. I don't see why Konami wouldn't be remaking the first Metal Gear games and setting that up. They don't want to wait 10 years to remake this thing. No one's going to care about that plotline as much as they do right now. So that's all I have for now. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry about the audio quality and the interruptions. This is my first time doing this. If you like it, let me know. Leave comments. If you have any questions, let me know. If you're watching this video before the video that came before it, please go watch that one without me talking over it, because I want you to pay attention to just the range of emotions that go through Venom's face as the story progresses. Alright, that's everything I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.